What's up, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Sunday. Travis is laughing because I'm scrambling at the last second to fix whatever the hell is going on with my green screen up here. I think I need to get
your green screen was showing for a second. It's still looking a little. It's trying to come back in.
Yeah, I was. You know what I like about this is it's two pieces together, so I can just go like this and open the whole room behind me.
It's trying to come through the library seat you got behind you right now. It's kind of funny looking actually. But
this is what I call my hood studio. It's like drapes pinned together and then repurposed lamps for my studio lighting here. But it does the trick.
Welcome to Cinema Royale, everyone.
Yes, we are the Punch Drunk Critics.
I'm Travis Hobson as John Nolan. Welcome to the show. What's been going on with you this week? Anything special?
No, I've been trying to breathe. You know, I'm going to ask you guys real quick before we really get started to click that like and subscribe button. I feel so Chauncey asking that and saying it because it's like the cliche that everybody does, but do it because I hate my job. I hate my day job. I do. I'm putting that in public blast. And I would love to do this all the time. But it's a crazy week, but I got I didn't get the new. We all know the new series of consoles came out, the PS5 and the Xbox One X or Series X, whatever it is, Series S. I didn't get one yet. My brother got a PS5 though, so he's kind enough to let me borrow his PS4, so I can finally play Spider-Man that everybody was talking about like 2 or 3 years ago. I think in today's day and age, shouldn't we be done with console exclusives? Shouldn't everything just come out on everything?
You would think, but there's more exclusives than ever right now. Especially for Sony.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, they both have their own exclusives, and Xbox is buying up companies left and right all of a sudden too. So, more exclusives than ever. It is what it is. I think it's dumb too. They should all be cross-brand, but whatever.
Right.
But yeah, good for you. I'm glad you got a PS4 at least. I've still never played the Spider-Man game except in like demos, like in the store. So, because I'm an Xbox guy and I don't.
Me too. Always have been.
It's not like back in the day when I would have every system.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like you pick one.
Yeah.
And Xbox, honestly, I've had every Xbox day one that they've come out until this year, which I've had to wait like maybe an extra 4 or 5 days to get mine. I've had every Xbox, and they're basically the way they did it was smart. They've become such a home entertainment center in and of itself that it inspires brand loyalty.
Right.
So since I've had Xbox since day one, all of the Xboxes, I'm like, hey, a new Xbox? Of course I'm getting a new Xbox. I didn't even consider getting the PS5.
Yeah.
And I know PS5 has better games. Like I would love to be able to play Final Fantasy. Of course I would. I would love to be able to play Spider-Man Miles Morales. Of course I would.
It's one of those things it's about pride. You can't change your team after the fact. You're an Xbox guy or PS5, and that's the greatest thing marketing does.
If I had to scratch, I would have both, but I don't. Yeah. So you go with what you roll with one or the other, and that's fine. Yeah. I'm happy with my Xbox Series S right now. So.
Plus, Game Pass has become such an amazing thing, and I know we're a movie show.
Game Pass is pretty sweet. We should start off every week talking about video games for like 5 minutes.
We usually talk about random things, but the last couple of weeks it's always been video games.
Yeah, it's usually because I'm in the middle of playing something. And I haven't been able to turn it off yet, which is kind of the case here as I'm trying to turn off Dragon Age.
Yeah.
After this is over, I'll jump into some Overwatch. But yeah, so that's pretty much what's been going on video game-wise. But in terms of movies this week...
it's Oscar week, really. I mean, everything...
Oh, yeah, very clearly. I mean, it depends how you look at it. I mean, Mank doesn't come out for a couple of weeks. But, I mean, it's been out in theaters for a little over a week now. It comes out on
December 4th on Netflix.
December 4th, and that's probably one of the big Oscar movies that is out and can be talked about. But we're not going to talk about it this week. We're going to talk about it next week.
Right.
But in terms of other movies, one that I was really looking forward to was JIU JITSU.
Mm-hmm.
Nicolas Cage and the sci-fi Predator thing. Sound of Metal with Riz Ahmed, which I saw at Middleburg, and Vanguard, which is the new Jackie Chan movie. So we're keeping it kind of lowbrow this week, I would say.
I think that's a safe assumption. I mean,
We're keeping it pretty lowbrow this week. We could go to some. It's not for Sound of Metal. Sound of Metal. I don't know if it's an Oscar movie, but it may have an Oscar-worthy performance within it. So definitely some Oscar
from Riz Ahmed.
Yeah, there's some Oscar-worthy sound design as well. So
I mean, it's pretty much a lock that Riz Ahmed is going to be a perennial A-lister soon, right? I mean, the guy's super talented.
He's amazingly talented, but I feel like he's going to be one of those guys that is more overlooked than anything else for a long time before he finally gets his due. I just had this feeling he's going to be one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that happening too, unfortunately. I mean, especially if this was 15 years ago, he wouldn't be getting nearly, what the opportunities he's probably getting now. But, I mean, every time he's in there, he knocks it out of the park. Sound of Metal, I know you've seen it. I haven't seen it, so you'll be giving us a rundown of that. But I need to see it because Olivia Cooke, big fan. Big fan
of Olivia Cooke too, but I'm not sure if you'll be a fan of Olivia Cooke in this movie. She's not. I mean, I'm assuming one of the reasons you like her is because of you're John Nolan, and I know why you like her. But
you're a dirty misogynist. I'm gonna objectify her.
This is the movie where she's playing her beauty. Let's put it that way.
I'm sure it shines through.
Yeah, I suppose. And then other kind of big news that came out this week, Wonder Woman 1984. We definitely want to need to talk about that.
Yeah.
It's big. Black Panther 2 is also something we should talk about because that's apparently going to start shooting very soon, which is interesting.
So they've probably
Deadpool
already made
3. It's like 3 superhero movies that are all starting and they're all under unusual circumstances.
Yeah.
Black Panther 2, Wonder Woman 1984. And Deadpool 3, and then we got to talk about the Mandalorian episode 4 for season.
And we
2.
got to do it all in 30 minutes or so. We will be running a shorter. Did you? I'm guessing you didn't see that.
Oops. Nope, I did not. All right, well, better hurry up then.
I mean, we can, it's not a hard stop, but my final.
No, it's fine. We should have spent that time talking about video games then.
Yep.
So all right, let's start with Jiu-Jitsu then because
there's nowhere else.
Let's start with the movies that we've both seen, and then I could just kind of say the highlights of Sound of Metal. But
right.
But yeah, let's start with the movies we've seen, and let's talk about Jiu-Jitsu, which is directed by Dimitri Logothetis, and he's a director that I really like. He did those Kickboxer reboots over the last few years that I thought were surprisingly good. They had no business being good, and they were. I think there's still a third one on the way. But
starting with what? Kickboxer Resurrection or Regeneration or
Kickboxer? It's like Kickboxer Vengeance, Kickboxer Resurrection or Retaliation or something. I don't know. But he did both of those, and I thought those were really good. And now he's sort of. It's almost. Well, okay. So look, Jiu-Jitsu is always going to be known as the Nicolas Cage martial arts movie, right? It's what's always going to be called, like shorthand from here on out. But it's really a straight ripoff of Predator. Like it is the most ripping offingest of a movie I've seen in a long time, especially a Predator. And it's like there's no shame in it. And I'm like, all right, well, you're just going to straight up rip off Predator, and that's fine.
Yeah,
at least do it in an interesting way, and to Logothetis' credit, I think they do it in an interesting way. And the premise is really kooky, which I think is really great. There's an alien warrior who has apparently been around for millennia, who taught humans martial arts.
Of course he did, yeah. And
now he comes back every 6 years for Mortal Kombat against our best fighters. And if we don't fight him, he will destroy everybody. He will destroy everything.
Yeah. The 6 year thing, I don't know why it stuck with me as weird, but it really says a lot about the movie as a whole. Because, like, if you're picking, an interim period in which you're going to come back, why would you pick 6 years? I mean, 5, 10, a nice round number.
He needs time to go fight in other places. He needs time to go fight in other places, man. Come back here. He's got to go to other planets and fight.
I mean, look, Nicolas Cage has been an unlikely action star since the mid-'90s, obviously. But he was always able to pull off the FBI agent, gun-toting kind of hero at the end of the day. But one thing he has never been is a martial artist.
Let's be fair. He's not an action star in this either, and he's not a martial artist very much in this movie either. He does not have a gigantic role other than to be Nicolas Cage,
right?
Which is fine, because I think his humor and that sort of untamed aspect of him is something that the movie needed. Because one of my beefs with it is that for as weird as the premise is, it doesn't play it as weird. Like I would have preferred this movie be more bonkers than it actually is, but it actually plays it straight serious. And I didn't really want that from this movie, when that has Nicolas Cage as this proverb spouting kook who makes paper hats and run.
Yes.
You're going to give me that. You should go with that. You should run with that overall, like the whole way through. You should run with that.
Yeah.
But Cage isn't really a factor until about 40 minutes into the movie, and he's sort of a side character more than anything else. I understand why they promote him as heavily as they did. Of course, who wouldn't?
See, the thing, I don't
this
understand.
is really Alan Moosey's film. And honestly, Alan Moosey, who was the guy who was in the Kickboxer films, has been in a lot of movies lately. Pretty decent martial artist on the screen. Tony Jaa is in this too, so you got some martial arts royalty.
Well, let's roll through the cast list real quick, because you really do have a strong cast. You have Rick Yoon, who has always been a really strong presence. Tony Jaa, Frank Grillo.
The chick from the 100 is in this too. I can't remember her name. She was a soldier early on in the movie that kind of interrogates Moosey's character. I can't remember her name. She's super hot, but she's really good in this. A couple 100 actors breaking it into movies. Lindsay Morgan is in Skylines later too. So
is it Marie Avgaro or Paulopoulos?
Yes, that is her. I can never remember her name.
That's the exact pronunciation, folks, by the way.
Sure.
And then
sounds very sweet.
I was really happy to see Eddie Steeple show up too. I don't know if you ever watched My Name Is Earl. Did you ever watch that show?
Oh, that was the black guy.
Yeah.
I knew I had recognized him, but I couldn't think what. And it's because it's My Name Is Earl, which is a show that I never really watched, but I knew he was in. Okay, all right.
He's such I'm amazed to this day that after he was on that show, he hasn't gotten a ton more work. This is the first time I've seen him in like 10 years. But back to your point about this being a blatant Predator ripoff. It's even more so if you consider the original incarnation of Predator. Behind the scenes trivia. The Predator didn't look the way we know him now when they started. They originally started the movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme. The alien was much thinner and much more agile, a lot like what you've seen here. And honestly, the designs are even pretty close to this. For all the ridiculousness,
he does not look good. He doesn't really look good in this, by the way.
I thought it was a cool design. It looks like something out of Mass Effect or something like that.
His face, he wears this like a bodysuit sort of thing, and his face would always like emerge in the helmet, right? Like it happened all the time, and it was funny because I think it was diminishing returns each time that it happened.
Yeah,
but it
should only happen once.
But it always looked to me, it looked like his face had been mapped onto a body, like old video games, like where they would map like those early polygonal video games.
Yeah, I was gonna say full polygon. Yep.
Yeah, like when WWE games like first went to like the polygons and the texture mapping.
Yeah.
And
it Virtual was, like, Fighters probably.
Hulk Hogan's face onto like a body, and you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it looked like, and I was like, eventually it just started looking really cheap. And the budget for this movie is pretty obvious. You can tell they're straining. On this one, it's very, very low budget. There aren't very many like cool environments in this. They're in the jungle or a temple that kind of looks like a warehouse.
Yeah,
there's a lot for the budget here.
Yeah, there's a lot of obvious wide shots that were probably stock film, and then but I mean, all that stuff aside, you mentioned that you can see why they would market it with Nicolas Cage, and honestly, at this point, I don't get why, because Nicolas Cage in a movie nowadays, most people's impression is, oh, that's a junk movie, and there's enough in this to market it.
Nicolas Cage has a really loyal following, so whether or not you see it as a junk movie or not, his fans are going to follow him around. Shit, I'm probably one of those fans too. I mean, I
Mhm.
follow him around to whatever movie he's doing, and the kookier they sound, the better, as far as I'm concerned. And this is
Yeah.
about as kooky as, and he's done a lot of really kooky stuff over the last couple of years.
Mhm.
This is probably as on the far end of that as possible in terms of premise.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would definitely agree with what you said earlier about it not really going full bore with the silliness. Like it didn't buy into it. Didn't seem aware of what it was, and I think it would have done a lot better if it did, especially considering the budget restraints and things like that. But all that stuff aside, it's got some really good action scenes. So if you're looking for just a fun throwaway action movie, the fights are
There's some really good fights.
Thrilling to watch. Yeah.
There's some really good fights, and they get some. He's got some really long fights. Basically, you have these creatures named as Brax taking out the squad, fight by fight, sort of really Predator style. He sees them as prey, trophies. It is the Predator storyline, other than like the mythology that they add around the character, which is also very Predator-like. Yeah. But like the whole coming back 6 years, and you train humans how to fight, that kind of thing. I thought was really cool that they added to it, and it made me like, okay, they're clearly setting up for something that could be for the long haul here. And knowing Logothetis, he's probably got plans for a sequel already.
Yeah, and let's not forget these movies do amazing overseas. So, and they cost $17 to make. So, I'm sure we'll see other ones. I mean, they can.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see other ones. It's a solid film. It's a decent film. It's not as wild as I would have wanted it to be, but I want to see more. So that's a good thing. I could have used more Nicolas Cage in this too. I just could. And Alan Moosey, I think this is probably one of the weaker roles that he's had. I know his character is meant to be sort of a blank slate. He's got shit throughout the whole thing, which, by the way, got really annoying, and everybody was like, "You still don't remember?" It's like 90% into the movie, and he still doesn't remember. And I'm like, "When are y'all gonna figure it out? He don't know. He don't know nothing." By the way, the opening scene is like straight Jason Bourne.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just the Bourne identity. It's just the Bourne identity. It was the Bourne identity at the beginning. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And then it went into Predator. So whatever.
We had another action movie this week, and I'm still amazed. We've seen, for some reason, my wife has been on a kick of rewatching the Expendables movies this week. They're all on Hulu, and watching that, you see, man, these old guys out there doing it. But Schwarzenegger, Stallone, even the younger guys, Jason Statham, they never did it the way Jackie Chan did it. Jackie Chan did it full bore himself. It's amazing the guy lived as long as he did. It's even more amazing he's still making action movies. It's 2020. Sort of. He's been. I mean, his body must be so beat up over the years. I don't understand. If I stay up past 10, I can't walk straight in the next morning. But this dude is 70 years old, beating himself up every day, and still doing movies.
Yeah. I wish he was making movies better than Vanguard, but yeah, I guess he's making movies.
He's
Vanguard is pretty shitty, even by like bad Jackie Chan standards. Vanguard is pretty bad. Vanguard is like this international task force, whatever, anti-terrorism group. They're protecting some billionaire and his daughter from a terrorist group. And Jackie Chan, he's promoted in it, but it's almost like Nicolas Cage. He is a side character in this movie. He is the leader of Vanguard, but he spends the opening fight sitting behind a desk. So, I mean, it's not... And when he comes out, like, there's a really fun Africa scene that comes up pretty early in the movie. He comes out for that one. And he's mostly comic relief. Comic relief.
He has been for a long time. I mean, he's 66 years old, though, so anything besides sitting behind a desk is amazing to me.
I mean, I remember when he actually said that he was going to be making movies that are less, physically challenging, and he was going to be doing more comedy and kind of more like the Rush Hour style Jackie Chan. Like that kind of, and he's followed through on that. There's no doubt about it. But like I said in my review, he's no longer capable of physically elevating a movie just by his presence. Like, he used to be able to do that. He could make a bad movie watchable because he would do some insane shit that you would just be captivated by. He can't do that anymore. So when a movie is bad, like Vanguard is bad, it's cheesy, it's badly written. The CGI effects, which there are plenty, don't look good. The fight scenes are generic. The shootouts are bland. I mean, there's not a lot to this movie. Really, it's just not very good. It's just not a very good movie. He can't lift it up. He can't make it better, and that's kind of a shame to me.
I mean, this is very much in line with a lot of Jackie Chan movies that played over here but weren't intended for over here. Like in the early night before Rumble in the Bronx, he had 3 or 4, and even Rumble in the Bronx.
Same director as this, by the way.
Yeah, really? I didn't notice that.
Stanley Tong. He did Rumble in the Bronx 25 years ago.
Worst representation of New York in any movie ever.
They've done 7 movies together. This is their 7th.
Yeah, Rumble in the Bronx.
It's been decent. Rumble in the Bronx 25 years ago, man.
It's ridiculous. But that's what really introduced us to Jackie Chan, and the reason that was a
brought him to our
popular
shores.
movie was because of exactly what you said. He elevates it physically. The stuff he does, you're not going to see anybody else doing it anywhere else. So you don't really care as much about the silly story and anything else going on. The stuff in Rush Hour,
story is terrible too. Rumble in the Bronx story is terrible.
Yeah,
but
the stuff with Rush Hour was
in that movie is so incredible that you're like, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, and especially over here, we had never seen anything like that before. But the stuff with Rush Hour, that was lightning in a bottle. He and Chris Tucker just had such great chemistry. That's what made him funny. If you watch like Shanghai Nights and Shanghai Noon with Owen Wilson, he has good chemistry with him too. He plays a good buddy in any kind of buddy cop movie, but in order to really make it worthwhile,
they're still trying to make a third one of those. They're still trying to make a third one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish they would just give up on that. I mean, nobody wants to see that.
No.
At least I don't think so. I don't think anybody wants to see a third Shanghai Noon, but whatever.
I mean, they were all right, but they're still trying.
Yeah, they're fine. But I don't think anybody wants to see that.
So it sounds like
Vanguard is trash, though. This is not a good movie.
So if you're picking a cheesy action movie for the weekend, you're gonna want to go with Jiu-Jitsu.
Go with Jiu-Jitsu, or just go find something else to watch. You know what I watched last night? I watched it. In all fairness, I watched it for my next real action that I'm doing for Joe Blow. But I watched.
Plug that real quick because I want to make sure people are seeing that.
Those videos are doing. Those videos are doing great for Joe Blow right now. I narrate and write a video series called Real Action, which is just about classic action movies from the 80s and 90s. So I've done like Commando, Demolition Man. I did something else too. I can't think what it was. Double Impact. And my next one, which is the movie that I watched last night, The Last Boy Scout. So
Bruce Willis,
because I was tasked with finding one that has sort of a holiday Christmas theme, and so they were like,
Shane Black.
I was like, I'm not doing Die Hard. Like, I'm not doing Die Hard probably ever. I have no interest in doing Die Hard. So I was like, how about The Last Boy Scout? Because Shane Black has done like 6 or 7 movies that all his action films have like a Christmas theme. And The Last Boy Scout has probably the thinnest connection to the holidays. The only reason you know it's the holidays at all is because his daughter drew pictures that say Satan claws on them. Like that's like the only like overt connection to Christmas. I would say that The Last Boy Scout's theme is It's a Wonderful Life, though. Like it's a guy like throughout all the violence and all the crap that he goes throughout the movie. It's very much a guy realizing what he has and comes back around to what's important. Like it's it's that same theme. And I don't know if that's what Shane Blair is going for, like intentionally. I kind of think it was, but that's kind of what it ends up doing. So these are like the connections to the holidays, but I'm going to stretch it as best I can. So the next one is The Last Boy Scout, and I'm going to try to write and do that one this week.
Still one of the most effective opening scenes, or most not impactful.
Dude,
but
that Billy Cole scene is sick.
I was
watching, I was like, this joint scarred me when I was younger. I was like, damn.
The image of him running full bore with the ball and then pulling out the gun while he's running to the end zone. Oh man, that's an icon. That was Billy Blanks.
Hell yeah, that was Billy Blanks.
Oh, I didn't put 2 and 2 together because he wasn't doing Tybo back then, so I didn't know of him.
That movie's super violent too. I knew it was violent. I mean, it's Shane Black. Ambulance coming. I knew it was Shane Black, so I knew it was violent anyway. But I've forgotten how violent it was at some points.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of scenes of people spitting blood.
Yeah.
Like a lot. Because a lot of people get punched in the face a lot in that movie, and they always spit the blood out from their mouth. And it always comes out thick and gooey. Kind of like how you, like, if the Predator just stabs somebody.
Yeah, it's like liver blood. Yeah. I mean, I still remember that being one of the movies, like, in the late 80s and early 90s, parents let you watch whatever, with a few exceptions. And we watched all the Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Van Damme, but The Last Boy Scout was one of the ones that certain parents outlawed for whatever reason, and all the kids never understood why.
You know why it was different? You know why it didn't? Because it was a lot of cussing, and it wasn't just an action movie. This was like a film noir, like a gritty film noir. So it was violent in a different way.
Yeah.
It was violent in like straight murder violent.
Right.
Not like cartoonish alien kills dudes for violent. Or Terminator kills dudes violence. It's
street
different.
level crime violent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a different kind of vibe.
Don't forget, it's what launched Halle Berry up there and really got her noticed. She was working a while before that, but that's Jungle Fever was same year. So between that and Last Boy Scout,
she takes a bunch of volley of bullets very well in this movie.
She does.
So.
All right. So, do we want to talk about Mandalorian at all? I mean, obviously you
definitely need to talk about the Mandalorian. Let me just say something quickly about Sound of Metal.
Sure.
Which looks like it could possibly be an Oscar movie for Riz Ahmed. We'll see. This year is going to be very interesting. Basically, he plays a hard rock drummer, a metal drummer, who suddenly, basically overnight, loses his hearing.
Wow.
Living that loud lifestyle, man. He basically wakes up one morning and he's lost his hearing. And the movie is about him kind of is coping with that loss, that sudden loss. He goes to a facility for people who are coping with the loss of their hearing, and he does not handle it well. Now, the thing about him is he's a former drug user. He's sober now, but metal and the music was sort of like his drug, and now he's lost that. And so he's going through a whole other kind of recovery and a whole different kind of situation. And it's really interesting to see those sorts of comparisons to the way somebody is in rehab for drugs, and how he kind of has to go through a similar rehab to get over the loss of the thing that's been most important to him, which is music and his hearing. So it's kind of both. Yeah. And it's a whole situation. And it's a really great performance by Riz Ahmed. Olivia Cook is in it as well. She's good as his girlfriend, which is something else he has to cope with, because she still has her hearing. She was his bandmate in the group, and she's a former user as well. So they've been kind of leaning on each other to get through, to stay clean. But now they have this break between them because there's something so vastly different that they just simply cannot share. So it's a really interesting film. It's a really good film, I think. The use of sound and silence in this movie is fantastic. Like the way they portray, the director's name I don't remember, but the way the director portrays how his perception of sound now, that he's losing his hearing. It's
I love when they go the extra mile to do stuff like that, especially when it's something really traumatic, because it's hard for us to identify or relate to a character that if you've never had something traumatic. So it's like helping you along the way. And that's a meaty freaking role right there. So
it is. It's a really great performance. It kind of reminded me of that movie. I don't know if you remember from. It's got to be more than a decade old now. It's called "It's Gone Pete Tong." Yeah, it's about the DJ who lost his hearing. So it kind of reminds me of that. I think this movie's better than that, but in a similar sort of way, they kind of deal with the same subject. So really good film for Riz Ahmed. Another strong performance from him.
Awesome.
We're definitely worth checking out. It should be available on VOD right now, just like all these movies that we've talked about today.
Yeah. World COVID, so one silver lining, if anything else, is that almost everything, if not everything, is on VOD, so you can watch it right now. We'll wait till you know.
Wonder Woman 1984 will be too.
Yes, I was.
Before we jump into the Mandalorian, let's talk about that for a moment, because that is the big news of the week. Wonder Woman 1984 is going to be coming out in theaters and on HBO Max on Christmas Day, same day and date simultaneously. for 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
For 1 month. For 1 month, it will be on HBO Max. So it won't be there forever. It'll then go into normal theatrical, and then once that's done, it will then go into digital, back into digital, presumably into HBO Max as well. But
Which seems so pointless to me.
Other forms of digital as well, so you could probably get it, anywhere on digital.
Mm-hmm.
After that, so yeah, but for 1 month it will be on HBO Max on Christmas Day, beginning Christmas Day, and it will not be extra for subscribers either, which is interesting.
That surprised the hell out of me when this story broke. I figured, I mean, when I first saw the headline, I was like, okay, I'll drop the $30 that I did for Mulan, and then come find out, it's number one, it's day and date for both theater and VOD, and then it's nothing extra, and the only thing I think of is that HBO Max is not getting the numbers that they thought they would by now.
Yeah.
And then they saw this as their nuke because their subscribership numbers are going to go up. I don't understand the whole month thing because, if it's in theaters afterwards, I mean, I can't imagine anybody waiting a month after release when they could have just watched on HBO Max, spending the money to go to a theater. So it seems kind of pointless. But HBO Max has some kind of weird deal.
I've kind of come around on this thing with subscription services like this because oftentimes we're like, well, how does Netflix pay for all this? How do they justify it? This kind of stuff for all these movies that they're buying for millions of dollars. And where do they recoup it?
Mm-hmm.
Recoup it by keeping your subscribers. That's why you keep movies. It's more about keeping after a while than it is about gaining. So it's kind of, and I started thinking about that when it became to like Twitch streams, and I was like, well, what's the purpose here for a lot of these people who have like new content every day, new content. Mm-hmm. It's because you want to keep your subscribers more than anything else. Now, in the case of HBO Max, unlike Disney Plus, where Disney Plus has like a new thing all the time, and they have like these killer apps like Marvel and Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
HBO Max hasn't really done that. They haven't done that yet. Like they haven't fully exploited what they could. They haven't exploited Warner Brothers yet. Maybe they're going to start doing that though, like with the Peacemaker series that's coming, stuff like that you can only get there with their properties. Right. That's the kind of thing they're going to use to start bringing in. They'll probably get, like a one of those. I don't know if the Game of Thrones series is going to be on there or not. It might be, but
it's on there. They have all the HBO shows.
Yeah, so stuff like that. Stuff like that is the stuff that's going to bring people in, but they haven't really exploited it. So this is them exploiting something that they have that's unique to them, that will bring in new subscribers and keep the ones that they have. So,
right. I mean, my thing with HBO Max, I have it just because
I never watch it.
I rarely watch it. I watch it whenever I want to watch DC animated universe shows. That's pretty much what I turned on for. But the big problem with HBO Max is a lot of the services I have. I like knowing what's there, even if I'm not always watching it. And HBO Max doesn't have their stuff that they're going to keep and nobody else has. There's very few things like that. And when they do get some of that stuff, there was big news when they first opened, first launched that, a month later they were losing Justice League and they were using this. And there's no really rhyme or reason. It's not like they have it and keep it. Disney Plus is always going to have the Marvel films. They're always going to have the Star Wars films. So you have it. It's almost like keeping a library. So I don't fully see what their business plan is there, but I'm sure they have something in mind. That was the biggest thing. But
it's a big deal. And I guess I feel bad for theaters.
Yeah,
they keep taking blow after blow, but this is probably better than nothing. They're going to get Wonder Woman in theaters. Mm-hmm. It may be for a shortened window, but they're going to get it.
And they're going to get that Christmas afternoon box office, and that's all that matters to them right now. I mean,
they need to get something, and they're going to get something after that once it leaves the HBO Max after a month. But and I believe they're also going to get no, that may not be them. I may be thinking of the AMC Universal deal that was also struck this week too, in which theaters get a percentage of those Universal films that go into VOD after a couple weeks.
Right.
Shortened theatrical window there too. AMC is striking these deals left and right, or Universal is striking these deals left and right, because they struck one back in the summer with Cinemark.
Yeah, that's right.
Or no, it was reversed. They struck it with AMC first, and then now Cinemark. So Universal is striking these deals, and when you think about for these shortened theatrical windows, and you think about the movies they've got coming up, like Fast and Furious and Minions and stuff like that, that are going to draw millions, possibly $1 billion.
Right.
And the theaters will get a cut of that once they go to VOD, on top of whatever they get from theaters, from the theatrical. They're getting a little something. It's not going to be enough to sustain them forever, but
no. It kind of off that subject a little bit, but when you mentioned AMC, it reminded me the AMC Plus or AMC Premiere, whatever it is, new streaming service they launched. That it's a solid. Like a lot of the channel-based ones they're okay, good to have, but nothing you want to pay for. But AMC Plus or AMC Premiere, I forget which one it's called, is pretty awesome. And if no other reason, I don't think I've talked about this on our show yet, is for Gangs of London. I always get Gareth Evans and Gareth Edwards confused. Which one did the raid? Evans,
Gareth Evans is the good one who did the raid.
Right, Gareth Evans. Gareth
Edwards is great too, because he did Rogue One.
yeah.
The best Star Wars movie
almost ever, yeah, or possibly ever. It's the most rewatchable.
And I like The Last Jedi a lot, but it's not Rogue One. Rogue One is better.
Yeah, but if anybody's seen the raid and how surprising the violence was, and how different that movie was, and the way it took something that we've known forever, the most standard action movie plot you can have, where it's basically the Nintendo game Kung Fu, when you go in, you go up the stairs and you fight another guy, and you go up the stairs and fight another guy. He took that and brought something that people had never seen before, and his shooting style, the way this guy shoots action scenes, so you can really feel each hit, each explosion, each gunshot. He takes that and puts it into Gangs of London, which is about the biggest crime family in London, and the patriarch dies, and there's all this infighting, and there's a gang war about to break out. They're some of the best action scenes I think I have ever seen. They're the best gun battle I've ever seen, for sure, is in about episode 4 or 5. There's a scene where they storm a country farmhouse, and it is just amazing. So anybody that hasn't seen Gangs of London, check it out.
I feel bad that I haven't watched it yet.
It's really good, man.
Can I get AMC Plus on my Xbox One here?
You should be able to, yeah. I have it on my Amazon Prime Video account.
Oh, you have it on Amazon Prime? Then I'm going to add that to it, and I can watch that there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Just kind of call back to Jiu-Jitsu for a moment.
Yeah.
Local Thetis, one of the things that I did not like about that movie was Local Thetis makes some really weird camera choices.
I noticed that. Yeah, it's experimental almost.
Yeah, it was a lot of like flips and perspective changes, and it felt like he was trying to mimic Gareth Evans in some respect. And I was like, because Gareth Evans does a lot of like crazy breakneck angles in his fights too, but they work because they're so goddamn visceral.
Yeah, you don't notice it. Yeah,
right. In jiu-jitsu, you're like, that was just jarring. I don't know if I like that.
It almost seems like somebody dropped the camera a few times, honestly.
It does kind of look like that. Yeah. They just didn't make any sense. So
that's what makes him a magical filmmaker when it comes to action, is what he's doing. Where essentially the camera shakes when somebody gets hit to mimic an impact feel. That can go really bad really quick. He's the only filmmaker I know that has really done that perfectly. So the effect always hits. He's the most suspenseful action filmmaker. I'll get off his sack now, but he's awesome. All
right, so a couple other things here. I know you need to go. We need to talk about The Mandalorian.
Yeah, man.
Episode 4 of The Mandalorian, season 2. What did you think? This one is called.
I thought that I hate when you say things that I haven't thought of and you end up being right about them. Because I, like everybody else, was like, oh, they name dropped Ahsoka, that's where we're going. But obviously they weren't going to go directly there. Why would you do that? But I didn't think of that. And obviously you were right. But we did get to see Cara Dune and
yes, The Siege. I don't know, I forgot the title. The Siege.
Yeah. It was fine.
Grief Karga, Cara Dune is back.
Yeah. Even though she could kill me in about 3 seconds.
More Gina Carano.
I know.
I'm excited. I'm always excited to see Martina Carano, and she was looking especially thick and beautiful in this movie, in this episode, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, I was both scared and turned on. It was very odd. It was a very weird feeling. But yeah,
I'm super turned on by the fact that she could choke me out.
Yeah. I'm built like a 12-year-old ballerina, so most people I look at can probably choke me out. But you must be a different feeling.
I'm 6'3", almost 300 pounds, and I know she could kick my ass. I'm okay with that. Totally okay with it. She's too hot. Yeah, this one is more of a nostalgia piece. This episode, we get to revisit those guys, Grief and Cara Dune, and they've all.
Mando.
It seems like a lot of time has passed. It seems like a lot of time has passed
because essentially
I don't know, they don't really say, but she's a marshal, not unlike Cobb Vanth in the first episode, which is interesting that they're kind of following this thread a little bit of people becoming marshals. Grief Karga is, a respectable magistrate now,
Even Mithral, the very, very first bounty he got is working off a debt to Grief.
Very first guy.
It's target. You're right. I didn't even really consider it until now, but it does seem like the amount of progress they made since we last saw them and that entire town was blown up trying to kill Moff Gideon. It's now become this kind of like whole old, really an old Western town feel to it, where she's the marshal and he's the mayor and everything's happy and we're all good. And he's even, Greff seems completely different. He always had that jovial but probably doing something behind your back feel to him. But, when he first sees Mando and the child, he's, oh, look at the little baby. Has he been treating you well? He's like, acting like a loving uncle. It was pretty crazy, but it was fine. It was not the best of the season, but even an okay episode of Mandalorian was good to me.
No, and the plot is once again the same thing. You need our help, but we need your help with something first. Sort of thing. It's the standard stuff here, except it wasn't because. They go and they attack a Imperial outpost, and we get some advancement on what may have been going on with the child,
which connects to
why they wanted the child.
Connects back to Rise of Skywalker, and it's really a behind the scenes.
It could possibly
revelation.
Connect to the Rise of Skywalker, because and we're not trying to spoil too much here, but I figure at this point, if you haven't seen the episode, you're not going to watch it. Or you already know better. I mean,
you don't care enough to not care about the spoilers, right?
You don't care, right? You don't care enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because most people watch that shit like right at 3 a.m. when they get that shit starts. They just start watching it,
right?
But or at least within a day. But yeah, I mean, so we get to see Dr. Pershing again, another character from like the very first episode,
right?
I've
been trying to figure out who he reminds me of since he first came on. He reminds me of another actor. He's not that actor, but I can't think of who it is.
Probably Alexander Siddig. Probably maybe. Alexander Siddig.
Yeah,
from like Deep Space Nine and stuff like that. It's probably him that you're thinking of.
Yeah, so he was not so bad when we saw him last. He didn't want to, he didn't seem as bad as Werner Herzog, but we get to catch up with him again. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. No, he didn't seem as bad back then. He seemed like he wanted to protect the child, but of course he wanted to only protect the child because he wanted to keep the experiment going.
Right.
so he's talking about, they drew enough blood from the child, so that's one thing. But he also mentioned M count.
Yes.
Did you catch that?
Yep, midichlorian count, yep.
That is very clearly midichlorians.
And I love how they didn't say the word, because I know people hate it.
But they don't, right? No one wants to hear the word midichlorian. Like, no one wants to hear that word. That word is death. Like, you don't bring it up. But M count, on the other hand, and you're like, oh, so this is the midichlorians. So they need something with a really high force power.
Right.
And you see something in a vat, and I don't know, to me it looked like Snoke, but I don't know.
You know what? Now I'm gonna have to rewatch it to take a closer look, because I mean, you may. I just got the impression, obviously, they're cloning and they're trying to perfect cloning force sensitive people, and we got a very brief. The novelization of Rise of Skywalker goes further into it. We got a very brief kind of visual clue that when Palpatine was making his clones, it took a long time and a lot of them didn't go right. And when you add in the force aspect, it gets screwed up. So it's not confirmed, but certainly it seems that what's going on here is going to be, or at least trace back to what we're going to see in Rise of Skywalker with the cloning and all that good stuff.
I think that I personally think that those were Snokes they were making. We are talking about the birth of the first order here.
Timeline's right, yeah.
Yeah, that's what a lot of this stuff is leading up to here is the birth of it. Because there's also the scene in the episode with the rebel pilot,
right,
who's talking about all these things that are coming together, and it's not a coincidence. This is the birth of the First Order. I mean, this is the the First Order coming together, the pieces coming together for that. It would seem to fit.
Yep.
That this is Snoke being created, or something like that, or an army of Snokes, or whatever. But that's what it would seem like.
Wouldn't it be cool if that's how we got?
It could very well be Palpatine.
Uh-huh.
But it seems to me like Snoke would make more sense. But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be cool if this was a backdoor way of us actually getting the background that we were hoping for. On
no
Snoke.
Shit, and maybe that's what Favreau's going to do, because Lord knows the movies didn't do it.
Nope. And of course,
I still don't own the Rise of Skywalker, by the way.
Yeah, you don't.
I still don't own it. I just don't have it. I just don't.
I mean, I can't fault you.
I haven't even thought about buying it. Lord knows I've walked past it enough. Like in stores.
I haven't.
Every weekend I go to Walmart, I see it, and I'm like, I just don't want to buy it.
I haven't bought it either, but that's only because I have Disney Plus. A buddy of mine, a good friend of mine, who's like my main Star Wars bud, that we're both huge fans. He just watched it like 2 weeks ago, and I was amazed. Like, dude, how? So, but I'm
so fearful of watching it again.
I still had a really good time watching the movie. It was fun for me. It was fulfilling, but in hindsight, especially after reading Colin Trevorrow's script and finding out what could have been, I will admit, there were some missed shots on goal there. So
I feel like I want to just end it at episode 8. Like, I'm so fearful of watching episode
7. We'll end at episode 7 because episode 8 was just ridiculously stupid.
I love The Last Jedi, so
I know
you're dumb. But yeah, I know. I don't know if I can watch The Rise of Skywalker again and be like the prequels don't piss me off. The prequels are just bad. The prequels are bad, but they're not insulting. They're just bad.
Right.
Now, that's kind of the way I feel about Return of Jedi. Return of Jedi is bad, but it's not insulting. I can watch it. I can watch it and be like, okay, this completes their story. It makes sense.
Well, the worst
I feel
thing
that way
is
about the prequels. The prequels make sense and they fit the story. Whatever. They don't insult me.
Right.
Episode 9 insults me. Like, it's like,
I can see that.
It is actively insulting to the audience.
I'm open to that, but the worst thing about it, again, I really like the movie, but the worst thing about it is even if you don't go to Trevorrow's script, there are several missed opportunities in there that would have been easy to change, or that were already in there and they just didn't elucidate it enough. The opening scene where you see Kylo Ren chopping everything down, that's Mustafar. That's the planet. That's where Darth Vader was born. That's where his castle was in Rogue One, but it doesn't look anything like it, and they don't go into that. Spend another minute and a half saying that's why he's there. That adds connections to everything else. It makes it deeper, and it looks a lot cooler if you make it look the same. And then Finn's whole storyline, you can make his whole arc mean so much more if all you have to do is change a conversation. When he and I forget the girl that they meet on the one planet that's probably Lando's daughter, they're having a conversation, and she says that, oh yeah, we were stormtroopers too, and we gave up. All they had to do is have her add
all
the
the
end.
stuff that was in Trevorrow's script.
All they had to do was add to the end that we did it because we were inspired by you. So you could show what Finn's impact has been.
There's a lot that they could have done. We don't want to get off too much on a Rise of Skywalker tangent.
Especially not because our 30-minute show is up in an hour.
I just wanted to say,
I
still don't have it. And I don't know when or if I'm ever going to get it. I just don't know.
And that's how we always go over on time here at Cinema Royale. Travis says something about not owning a movie, and we're going on 20-minute tangents about it.
I know. So I know you wanted to get out of here early, but now we're on that hour anyway. So you might as well just hold on for another 6 minutes. But but like 2 more things real quick.
Yep.
That I want to get your opinion on. So Black Panther 2 is apparently going to start shooting. Is either June or July of next year.
This is this was the most interesting news of the week to me. I mean, Wonder Woman was big news, but this was interesting because
if they're shooting soon, that means they have a script approved and ready, which means they know what they're going to do. They came out and said they're not going to be using any kind of digital trickery to bring Chadwick Boseman back to resolve his story. But they've obviously picked who the next Black Panther is going to be. There's a lot of talk about Namor being
Yes,
Namor
her
being
name
involved.
is Letitia Wright.
It's not confirmed though, right?
No.
But it also means that they figured out the biggest difficulty, they got over the biggest hurdle is how do you close Chadwick Boseman T'Challa's story without him in a satisfying way?
I don't know. It was the immediate email that I got from someone was, how do they do this?
I mean, any way you do it, it'll feel
honestly,
cheap.
I don't know. I don't know what their plan is. I do feel like Shuri will take over that role.
Yeah.
But do they just give it to her, or is there like are there like other candidates in the process? Like, do they go through like a whole thing? Like, I don't know.
They have to do that ritual again, right? They
have a trial by combat. Maybe she fights M'Baku or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
M'Baku's not going to just sit by and not let it happen. And then what do you open the movie saying? Oh yeah, T'Challa died in a plane accident, and you open with his funeral. No,
maybe they say that. I mean, there's a very easy out if they wanted to go that route. They could easily say that the resurrection process was temporary, or that or something like those lines. Maybe the resurrection process using the flowers caused a reaction. I mean, we don't know. There are ways out.
Right, but even with that, I feel like the death scene needs to be on screen. You can't open it just with a Star Wars crawl saying that's what happened.
It opened with his funeral.
Yeah, I guess, and then but it would seem cheap to me. But they have to do. I mean, it doesn't matter if it seems cheap. They don't have an option.
Do you want like a digital version of him riding off the sunset like Paul Walker or something?
I'm not saying I have a better idea. I'm just saying.
I don't think that's a better idea. I don't know. They could if they wanted to kick the can down the road, they could do a where is T'Challa storyline. But I don't want that, and I don't think anybody wants that because we already know he's not coming back. So that would be a dumb idea too. The best thing to do is to tackle it head on. Just do it head on. Maybe you start with the funeral. Maybe you start. That's what you do. I don't know, but they've apparently figured out something, and I don't think the script is ready yet. But I do because they still got 6 or 7 months before they're even going to start shooting. But they've clearly come up with the idea of what they're going to do. Otherwise, they wouldn't even think about setting
You don't announce it until you know where you're going with something like that.
And to be fair, they haven't announced it. It is just news from a fairly reliable source.
And you know what, man? I'm going to be honest. Considering these are $1 billion investments, $1 billion franchises, even a single one, not even all the Avengers, I would not be surprised at all if the Disney brass had contingency plans and they've told, everybody involved in the creative side, hey, we need to know where you're going to go if any of these actors die. If say Chris Evans could get in a car accident before Avengers Endgame, and then you don't have Captain America, what are you going to do? So, it sounds cold, but I bet you they have them.
Maybe. I mean, you just call John Krasinski and you say, hey, can you dress up as Captain America for this movie for us?
Yeah.
You were number 2 last time, and now you're number 1. He's just like it's just like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. The other thing is Deadpool 3 is actually happening. It is finally happening. Marvel has hired the Molyneux sisters who write Bob's Burgers, that series on Fox, to write Deadpool 3. So the movie is finally moving forward. People have been asking about this ever since Deadpool 2, but remember Deadpool 2 came out right around the time that the merger with Disney was announced.
Right.
Fox. So there was never any idea, like we speculated about X-Force being in Deadpool 3 and all this kind of crap and blah, 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 blah. But honestly, there was more speculation about whether or not the movie was going to happen at all. Now, what I think is interesting about this, besides the fact that this would be the first movie not written by Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, the guys who did Zombieland and all that kind of stuff. And of course, like I said, the first 2 Deadpool movies, first movie without them.
Right.
But I don't know if we know for sure, and I know that we don't, whether this will truly be Deadpool 3, or if it'll be just a Deadpool reboot. Like we don't know. Like we don't know for sure. I know we're calling it Deadpool 3, but there's no proof that it's going to be like a sequel actually to those movies. So I mean, to me, it would make more sense for it not to be. because he's coming over into an entirely new universe. Unless he's not, they could very well keep him out of the MCU entirely and just do Deadpool. And
Yeah,
just do
I mean,
Deadpool on his own.
if
There's a
any,
million different ways this could go, and nobody knows yet. So,
right? If anybody, any character is gonna, take the light down the mine, Deadpool's the best because he can break the fourth wall and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know that it was ever really in question for me because Disney is not exactly the R-rated raunchy comedy action movie place, but they have a reign of separation with the Marvel brand. So I mean, this is a movie that made $1 billion. I knew they were going to make another one, but I'm just concerned about the writing difference because what made that movie work so well was the writing.
I believe that the reason why they went with different writers is because they're aiming for a PG-13 audience. I believe that's one of the reasons why they did that. I think that's one of the reasons why they did that. The Wernick, Reese and Paul Wernick, that's not really their thing. They do R-rated comedy really well. But this is Disney now. And
but it's Marvel.
They're looking for it's still Disney.
I know, but they've got that separation.
And even if it is Marvel, it's Marvel's not doing any R-rated movies either. So I don't know. So I think I see what you're saying. Yeah, and it's not as if Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick are out of the picture. Like they couldn't have got them. Of course they could. Because I believe they were working on the latest Pirates of the Caribbean or something, or at least they were at one point. So it's not as if they couldn't have got those two to do these movies. They went with a different direction for a reason, and I believe they did it because they wanted to aim for a different style of humor. That it will still be edgy, it'll still be a little transgressive.
Well, Ryan Reynolds is still involved, and he's always been very protective. So I mean, I'm going to trust him on it.
Yeah, exactly, and he clearly had approval over this as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
All right, we got to wrap it up. I got to get out of here before I end up being made to sleep on the couch tonight. This has been Cinema Royale. We are the Punch Drunk Critics, guys. The website is www.punchdrunkcritics.com. Check that every single day for all the latest news and updates. Make sure you like and subscribe our channel here on Twitter. We are at PDC Movies is the site handle. Travis is at Punchy Critic, and I am at Punch Drunk John. If you haven't already, make sure you go over to Twitch and follow Travis at cinematic_enforcer.
I haven't streamed in over almost 2 weeks. It's time for me to get back into it. I'm going to come back tonight with a post Survivor Series recap. So
there you go. So now is the time to do it. Any tips, questions? If you guys are interested in writing, you want to try your hand at writing for a movie website, or if you know about a new movie coming up, or you just want to tell us how freaking awesome we are. info@punchdrunkcritics.com is the email. Feel free to send us a message, whatever. We are out of here. We'll see you next week, guys. Thanks for watching.
Later.